And welcome back to the Nose Plays Total War Warhammer 2. It's been a very long time since I have played Total War Warhammer 2 on the stream. I have been playing a little bit off camera and have enjoyed it and am thoroughly in anticipation for Total War Warhammer 3, which is set to release a little bit later this year. And so in preparation for that, I picked this game back up and have played it a little bit just to remind myself, you know, how much I love it, because it is a really, really fun game. The biggest problem with this game is how much time you can put into it. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how much time you have available, and really how much you enjoy this type of gameplay. I enjoy it quite a bit, but I find, as with many games, I will spend a significant amount of time enjoying it, and then I'll sort of step away from it for a while, and when I come back to it, it's really hard for me to pick up where I left off, and so a lot of times I just start over again. And that's been going on for a number of years with a number of different games, and I've played the beginning of games far more than I've ever played the end of games, unfortunately. I'm not nearly as dedicated as some of the greats out there who tend to crank through these campaigns hundreds of hours in. You know, one of my favorite streamers, SB, really introduced me to this game. I had been aware of it for a long time and I'm a big fan of Warhammer, but his videos and his dedication to getting through campaigns is the stuff of legend. So if you haven't checked out his channel and his content on the Total War series, you should definitely look into that. There's a bunch of other really great Total War Warhammer streamers out there, and I'm sure you're aware of them if you enjoy watching this type of content. My content is not going to be very high-level play. It's going to be casual play, and I'm just going to live stream a couple of hours tonight. I fully intend to continue to stream this particular series a little bit over the coming weeks as I find time and get into a routine of streaming more. And I'm very, very happy so far with the progress I've made learning how to use the OBS software, which is so much more functional than the software I was using before, and has presented some awesome opportunities with my new hardware, my new PC that I built around Christmas this last year. And it's just working really, really well. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into a game. Let's do a new campaign of the Mortal Empires. And we're going to play with the character that I have the most experience playing with, and that's going to be Karl Franz. I am playing, again, a very casual game this first go-around. Like I said, it's been a long time since I played this. So we are going to be doing normal campaign and normal battle difficulty. We'll leave the Chaos Invasion on if we get that far. And we'll be playing with Karl Franz because he's the one that I enjoy playing with quite a bit, and I'm very familiar with this campaign, so I should be able to remember, you know, most of it. There were some significant changes that were introduced maybe a year ago now, specifically with the Empire, and I really, really enjoyed them and liked the direction that CA went with the changes they made to the Empire. So I'm curious to see if I still have that same opinion when we get back into this. But we're going to go ahead and jump in. And there will be some unfortunately long loading times. My computer is a significant upgrade from my old hardware, but it just seems like this game has very long loading times for a lot of just the game in general. So we'll just have to deal with that from time to time. But it is much improved and significantly improved on the turn timer. I found turns were cycling much faster than they ever did before on my old computer. So the new hardware has definitely been an upgrade. I am also trying to keep my eyes on the comment section. I do have that open on a second monitor, and so if you are enjoying the live stream and you have some comments, feel free to jump in there and make a comment, ask me a question, and I'll do my best to pay attention to those things as they're happening so that I can answer your questions in real time as quickly as possible. All right, I did turn off the sound for this guy because he's just really annoying, and I don't know. I guess I can, yeah, skip that. Good. Okay. How to play. So I'm not going to read through a lot of this stuff. The new system is pretty cool, but we're just going to jump in. All right, let's take a look at a couple things here. So... the beginning of every Empire campaign pretty much opens up the exact same. I wish there was a little bit more variety to the way that the game started. I wish there was like some, I don't know, just a handful of options. Like maybe not always have exactly the same enemies starting in exactly the same places, maybe a little bit of randomness. But it does tend to deviate marginally from that point forward, where things throughout the realm sort of happen differently with every playthrough, and so you never know exactly what you're going to get. But we're definitely going to be doing this first battle here pretty quickly. Before we do that battle, though, one of the things that I like to do, and one of the ways that I like to play, is I like to try to get alliances with as many of the elector counts as possible and start moving all of the realms of men towards a positive relationship with me through diplomacy. So diplomacy is an interesting part of the game. You can spend a lot of time dealing with it every single turn if you really want to. On the other side of it, you know, you can completely ignore it and probably get by just fine in a lot of ways. So I really enjoy the diplomacy. I think they do diplomacy better than anybody else in this particular game that I've ever seen. So we're going to jump into a couple of these menus and take care of some stuff before the turn begins. And there's a number of things you can research right off the bat. They completely redid this from the original technologies. And I like it a lot better. There's a lot more options. The one that I tend to like the best at the very beginning of the game is Tithe Rebates. This increases growth and public order, both of which can be problematic. If you don't get it quickly under control, you can find yourself behind the gun of a lot of rebellions, or just not having your facilities upgraded as high as you would like before you need them. So this helps with both of those things. Leadership for infantry units and faster movement speed is also pretty helpful at the very beginning of the game, because you have a lot of infantry and you're reliant on a lot of infantry in the early game. But as you get to the later stages of the game, this is much less useful. Nothing too exciting here. This is actually pretty good if you have artillery. We won't get that till mid-game, so that's kind of irrelevant. Extra ammunition only makes sense if you're using strategies that require lots of bowmen, lots of ammunition for ranged weapons. That's the word I'm looking for. But it does help, because you will run out of ammunition, and 10% is not nothing and can be the difference between a win or a loss. But I think we're going to go ahead and start with Tithe Rebates. If you have a different opinion on what you would start with, feel free to leave that in the comment section and let me know, because I'm always curious to get other people's thoughts on what they think the best things are. Assembly line feels like it's something that becomes more useful in the mid-game as well. Percent bonus doesn't amount to much until you have lots of these types of buildings already produced, and so doing it too early just seems like a waste of time. But the flat numbers that you get from Tithe seem to instantly help accelerate your growth and also deal with public order, which is initially a little bit of a problem, but you can quickly get that under control with a few decisions. So we'll see what we can do with that. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and we're going to jump out of this menu. So that's been taken care of, and now we're going to jump into the diplomacy menu. And this is where there's just so much time you can spend talking to every single person, and a lot of times I will do that when I'm off camera. You can sort people by their attitude toward you, by potential trade routes, war targets, treaties. So you can see we have treaties at the beginning of the game with 1, 2, four different excuse me, four different factions. The strongest of which is the Bretonnians, and we don't have basically any of the realms of men. And so what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can't get some basic diplomacy with all the realms of men.
What?
So, let's go ahead and sort by attitude first. This is important. And characters or factions that have a favorable opinion of you tend to have a much easier time of getting your demands met. So we'll start with Kislev and see where we're at with it.
You will drink with us. Then we will see who still stands. He will name the terms, yes?
So green obviously means a high likelihood of success, and a trade agreement with Kislev is going to bring us an additional 60 gold a turn. It brings them a lot more gold, but that's fine with me. I don't really care if Kislev gets strong. At this point in the game, they're not going to be a problem for us, and probably are going to be a really helpful faction to have between us and the Chaos Invasion that it will inevitably come. So we'll go ahead and get them rolling. Military access is irrelevant right now, but it's a good idea to give and grant military access to some factions. But you want to be careful which ones you do that with. Okay, Slovenia.
Does Franz not dare to come before me and kneel? A coward, then, as the princes of Altdorf have ever been.
We are going to probably break our treaty with the vampires very soon, if not immediately. The downside to that is it does cause a problem. And so if I go to break non-aggression pact, whoops. Obviously, that's demanding the cancel non-aggression pact. That's what I was looking for. If I click that, it gives me a little warning message that for 10 turns, our reliability rating will drop, which means we'll have basically negative approval with all other factions that we're trying to negotiate with. And so we'll probably wait till the end of the 10 turns to break this non-aggression pact with them. So I'm going to cancel that. But what I am going to do is I can demand payments from these guys. 2,000 is the highest amount that I can demand. And if we demand that, there's a very low chance of success. But I can lower this amount several times and see if we can find like the break-even point. So, where is it at? Payments. So let's see, let's go with like 15. This is still low. We're going to see if we can get down to moderate. Maybe 1,000? 1,100? Still low. Let's see. 700? Nope. 500? There we go. So 500 is probably going to work. I'm actually going to go ahead and try for 7. And if 7 doesn't work, we'll retry with 5.
I disobey.
Okay, so he's definitely going to reject 7. He might reject 5.
Never.
But will he accept 3?
I assent.
So we can get some free money from him. We may try to do this again before the end of the 10 turns and then cancel the treaty on him. We are planning to go to war with the vampires at some point, but not right away. Alright. These guys are also pretty positive in attitude towards us, so we might be able to ask for payments from them as well. So let's go ahead.
Hail to your Emperor. What can I do for you?
Let's see if we can get a 300 payment from this guy.
Not by me.
Nope. Okay, and then unfortunately there's no offer for a trade route.
King Louis Leon. Our neighbors in the east deign to visit.
But we
I hope you
might
bring
be
glad
able
tidings.
to get a trade agreement with the Bretonnians. They want a payment with military access. Let's counter proposal, and then let's add the trade agreement with the military access and see if that works.
I will.
Awesome. That can be a little bit dangerous because if we do lose territory, or if they come into our territory before we confederate, they can get into a war with one of the people we want to, and once they take land from us, or land that we require, that can be problematic. So a lot of times that's not exactly what you want to do with Bretonia, but I'm happy with that at the moment. Okay, so this is going to be a long turn. We got to go through all of these guys.
Approach and make your offer.
I'm just going to quickly
But
offer
I make no
a non-aggression pact
All right.
to each.
Approach as friend and make your offer.
Yeah, well, when these are red, we're just going to ignore them. So Talbot clan's been dealt with. Nordland.
Greetings on behalf of the Empire.
Very well.
All right. Those are red. We'll ignore them for a turn.
Who calls?
Osterlin.
Greetings, my countrymen. You come.
No.
All right. He's not happy with that.
The Empire.
Mark.
Greetings on behalf of the Empire. Not in my name. So,
Auckland.
approach and make your offer.
Never. Yes.
Aberlin.
Surely an agreement will be reached. I'll ignore that.
What?
Lots of guys here.
Greetings on
Talk to.
behalf of the Empire.
So be it.
All right, so the Middenheim Wolves.
Anad?
All right, we're not going to do non-aggression pacts with the dwarves at the moment,
Who calls?
but I am going to
Greetings, my countrymen.
Stirland.
You come in peace. I refuse. Yes?
Weissenland.
I will listen, but my time is
No, sir.
And
The
Golden
Empire.
Order.
What brings you here to disturb my work? Very well.
Who else do we have? Marienburg. That's about it.
Sigma's. My hand hovers close to my blade. No, sir.
Okay, so that's about all we can get done right now.
All right. You dare come at me making
did we?
demands?
I think I already did this
Call
one.
yourself. I will not obey.
Okay. So that's all we can get done this first turn. But that's already going to help put us in a little bit better place financially. And we can continue to try to get trade agreements and work with each of these factions to get them on board with us. It'll take some time. All right, so I think we're ready to just kick it into the combat part of the game. Let's see. Actually, before we do that, we can go ahead and upgrade Altdorf. So let's go ahead and get that done. I don't know if you remember what our number was up here, but we've increased it by a couple of hundred since the beginning of the game, so that's already good. Through our trade agreements and the cash that we pulled from the vampires. So we're doing well there.
I command here.
Karl is our only army. We're going to go ahead and attack these
Ulrich's
guys.
will.
And this is a pretty easy battle. Once you've done it a couple of times, it shouldn't be any difficulty whatsoever. And in fact, you can do it with taking very few casualties. So we can fight this battle, no problem. And that is what we will do. And now we enter the loading screens. And again, this will be sometimes a little bit of a delay. So I'll try to remember to talk so we're not just sitting here waiting for nothing. So there's a lot of different ways to help yourself when you're fighting these battles. I'll kind of walk through my philosophy of how to build your armies and how to get them ready to fight. So the first thing that we want to do is recognize any matchups that make sense or don't make sense. The first thing that you're going to notice is they have Swordsmen Infantry and then Spearmen Infantry. The swordsmen are slightly better fighters, and they're also shielded. So swordsmen have a little bit of a defense against missile weapons. The spearmen are not shielded at this point in the game, and so they have much less defense against missile weapons. They don't really have anybody who's armored, so except maybe their lord, and I can't really see any of his stats at this point. So if we have any armor-piercing weapons like our pistols or riflemen, those are best to try to target any characters that have armor, and then just sort of match your matchup. So basically what we want to do, we want to move these guys over here.
Missiles at the ready!
And we want to try to do as much damage to those spearmen as possible before they're able to do much to us.
Ready for
Our
war!
cavalry are going to be particularly good against the swordsmen and less good against the spearmen. Spears are good against cavalry, so we're going to move them to the other side. And then
Ready for war!
the most elite units that we have are right here, the halberdiers. They're the strongest units we have, and they're going to be the best at handling anything like heroes or very difficult enemies in the early game. So we're going to move these guys over here.
Spearmen!
And I'm going to try and always keep Karl Franz near the halberds so that he can fight with them and make them more successful. I'm going to move these swordsmen over here and these spearmen over here. And we'll just kind of move forward like this. Oops.
Swordsmen!
That was weird. So let's go ahead and
Ready for war!
start the battle.
Quick march!
And we'll get everybody moving. Okay, we're going to try to get these guys to come out and around. And as we get closer,
For Franz!
I want these guys to focus one unit down together.
Prepare for combat! Sigma!
For Heldenhammer!
Yes, sir!
And we're going to get some hammer and anvil right after we charge into those guys. And you can see this spearman unit's already down to about 50% health.
Handgunners! Go!
I'm going to move them over there.
Crossbows ready, General! For the
We'll
WARHAMMER!
have them shoot at those guys.
Guard Knights! Ranged weapons ready! Go! Yes, my lord! Reichsguard Knights!
Get those knights charging into the back of these guys. That will end them very, very quickly. Let's go ahead and boost Karl Franz's army here.
Reichsguard Knights! Handgunners!
My handgunners over there.
Crossbowmen! War!
Those guys on that.
Send us out! Ready!
Charge these guys into the back. These guys are routed, so we'll move the soldiers in to help fight here.
By Ulrich's Wrath! Missiles at the ready! Reichsguard Knights!
I wouldn't normally charge into spearmen, but they're really low, so we're not going to take a lot of damage from this.
For the Emperor!
Immediately pull them out.
For Heldenhammer! March! Yes, General! Handgunners! Take the ground! Go!
Okay. So, there you go. This battle's pretty much over. We can let this play out a little bit longer if we want to.
Charge!
I might actually do that and see if we can get rid of their ranged units. before they get off the map. I don't think we're going to get rid of all of them. I didn't get them over there fast enough. That's okay. Alright, we'll go ahead and end the battle then. Not bad. Alright, so our halberds took quite a bit of damage. That's unfortunate. We can get some of that back. So we can get 300 gold, or you can see I can get almost all of the halberd's strength back by taking the units replenished. So we're going to take that. A lot of times I will pick pardoned captives to get as much money as possible, because money is a real bottleneck at various points in the game. And honestly, you can always use a little bit in the bank, even if you're not spending it all, because there's always things that pop up where you realize you need some. We got the steel standard, so I want to go ahead and move that onto my cavalry. That will make them a little bit faster. And one of the big problems with the Reichsguard and the Empire's cavalry is they're very tanky, but they're slower than most other cavalry in the game, which puts them at a real disadvantage in a lot of situations. So anything you can do to improve their speed is usually well worth it. We're going to go ahead and do this one as I mentioned.
Step to it!
Okay.
Bring me to my men.
So at the moment, our territory that we own is actually limited right here. And I can't quite get to him to attack him. So it makes more sense for me to do one of a couple of things. I don't have enough movement to do any of these stances, but I want to be able to recruit a few more units this turn. So we're going to move just a step back
On march!
into our own territory. And then as we did that, you see now we're getting some recovery on all of our units. And it also unlocks the ability to bring in some more units through the local recruitment, where if we were in their territory, it's very difficult to do that. We might be able to do global recruitment, but you know, it costs a lot more and it takes longer, so it's not worth doing. And what we're going to look for in this first set of recruits is we need a little bit bigger front line, and we need some more ranged units. So I think I'm going to actually take like a variety of units. I know a lot of people will go straight for lots of missile units, because missile units are very effective in campaign. But what I think I want to do is I want to have a spearman on each of my flanks, and then I want to have a front line consisting of swordsmen. So this gives me 2 swordsmen and a halberd in the front line, a spearman on each of my flanks, and then I can have an archer fill in the gaps so that I have a few more missile weapons. And we're going to fill a lot of this first army out with archers, maybe a few free company militia, but mostly archers. Also, Karl Franz leveled up, so that's good. There's a couple of different things that I could take at the beginning. I guess it just depends on what you feel you want to do or what you think is necessary. Lightning Strike is like one of the best abilities in the game by a lot of people's opinions, and so quickly diving down the blue line tends to be really helpful. You can make Karl Franz way more tanky and somebody you don't have to keep your eyes on all the time by going down the yellow line. And then there are a few ways to boost his armies. I think getting Inspiring Presence is always worthwhile. Rally is a good skill to unlock, so both of those are pretty helpful. But it just depends on what you want to do. I'm going to go with Route Marcher first. The extra movement is really, really helpful in getting around. So we'll take that. We took care of that. We got the steel standards. Already got that. Alright, so we need to take out Grunsberg. That's our next mission. That will increase Imperial authority by 1, which is pretty good, and something we definitely want to do. Getting high Imperial authority is critical to being successful with the Empire. Losing Imperial authority and getting to these negative states is really bad, and can severely cripple your ability to win the game. I don't think there's anything else to do on turn 1 after those few things. And this is really helpful. The way that they have all of your notifications on this button, and you can sort of skip ones if you want to ignore them, is really, really helpful. I love the design of that. As you get familiar with the UI, it's actually really well laid out. There's a lot of information here. For example, if I want to look up any of my armies or any of my lords, I can just click on this button, figure out where they're at. If I want to look up any of my settlements, I can look here and I can get an idea of public order. I can get an idea of money coming in. And then I can also see other provinces that are nearby. You know, I can look at known factions and see how they feel about me. So there's just a lot of information that's really, really accessible. Missions, world events, this is everything that happened that we're aware of. So really, really cool. Get familiar with these buttons up here. They're super, super helpful. Okay, so I guess this is a good time to go ahead and end the turn. And like I said, probably going to play for about an hour, hour and a half tonight, but I want to keep this one going for a while. It really, really helps if people who are watching interact with me or leave comments and ask me questions. That definitely gets me motivated to come back and play another couple of hours of gameplay later in the week. Okay, so I didn't see where his army retreated to. I should have been paying attention to that. It's possible that his army went into an ambush mode, but I don't think that's likely. He might have retreated this direction over to Überstreik. Okay. Well, either way, we know what our mission is, and that is to attack Grunsberg. So let's go ahead and get on top of that. And they don't have much of a force here, so his force definitely retreated over towards Überstreik. We should definitely fight this battle manually. You can see that this is going to be a very easy battle for us. They have absolutely no ranged units whatsoever, and so we can just sort of stand right outside of melee range, shoot them up real good, especially some of these spearmen. We can just completely negate one or more of their units with our ranged units, and then use our hammer and anvil tactic with our shock cavalry once the enemy does make contact with our front line. If I'm not mistaken, this map is not ideal. It's a little bit of a difficult map because of some of the terrain and the hills. But we'll see which map it is. Some of these maps seem like they're almost random. Okay. So this battle has a lot of trees. We can see that we're starting at the top or almost the summit of a hill, and then we come up and it flattens out. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to fight in the trees, so I'm going to grab the whole army and move it over here. it doesn't look like we can see their army, so their army is most likely over here. And so what I want to do is sort of rearrange everybody to be in the positions that I talked about earlier, where I have one spearman on each side,
Swordsmen!
swordsman in the middle.
We are ready!
I'm going to bring the halberdiers back and use them as a reserve.
Reichsguard Knights!
We'll have the Reichsguard up here, and we'll just have to adapt to wherever their spearmen are. And then I want to move these guys just a little bit in these spaces, almost like a checkerboard.
Ready for war!
The checkerboard tactic works really well and just allows you to control who engages where. And then I'm going to have these guys back here in reserve with Karl Franz.
I will not stand idle!
So start marching. We're
Move
going to
out!
reduce our speed. We're just going to march slowly until we see where they're at. Okay, so now they're coming into view. No worries here so far. There's some spearmen. So I want to get all of my ranged units. And we want to focus one of these spearmen units down
Strike them down! Sigmar
as quickly as possible.
Spearmen! Sigmar calls! No lingering! By Ulrich's wrath!
Our weapons are yours.
Spearmen! No lingering! Sir! Halberdiers! Ah!
We're going to have them attack there.
Reichsguard Knights! Formation! March! War!
Perfect. Where's Karl Franz at?
My subjects call! Get them! Sir! Ready! Missile troops! Crossbowmen! Charge!
Let's get my
Sigmar
horsies
calls!
out of there and maybe slam them into the back of this guy.
At speed! Prepare for combat! Crossbows ready, General!
Easy victory, and there's no need to do much more because this is a settlement victory. They can't retreat, so they're pretty much wiped out. So there's no need to do any more damage to them, really. Pretty easy. You can see we didn't lose hardly anybody this time. A couple casualties, but nothing really severe. What did they get? 8, 4, 2, and 4. So 22 losses total. Nothing we won't be able to recover very, very quickly. All right. Excellent. More loot gained. Another rank gained. Decisive victory. We can occupy, loot, and occupy sack or raise. We just want to occupy these as fast as possible. The sooner we have control of all 3 or 4 settlements in our region, the sooner we can do the region orders, which are really helpful. So we'll occupy, which will also... okay. Complete this mission, which gives us more money, more imperial authority. This is really good because this increases the growth and tax rate of all provinces that we control. So staying positive on that's really helpful. All right. Quest issued, Battle of Bloodpine Woods. We should probably do this relatively quickly. You basically get a free wizard when you do it. I'm really bad at using the wizard, and it's not my favorite fight. It's one of those ones that's really easy though, so we shouldn't have any trouble completing it. if I wanted to do it, I'm not sure if I can do it this turn. We might be able to do it
I
this
am
turn.
Prince and Emperor.
So as I pointed out, if I click here and I click on Franz,
Summon the Elector Counts.
I can show you that I have another point to spend. So the question is, what do I want to spend it on? There are reasons to spend it on any of these things in the blue line, but there's also benefit to spending it on these. A leadership aura is pretty important. It helps keep units from fighting and keep them from running away when things go bad, so they stay in the fight longer. Hard to hit just gives him defense and helps him survive. This is particularly useful if he gets stuck in a bunch of like melee combatants where he's just fighting a lot of stuff and he's taking a lot of hits. This reduces the number of hits that land significantly depending on their stats. So it goes up from 45 to 50. So that can be helpful. It also unlocks this line, which definitely has some advantages. I kind of want to get to Irrepressible quickly. Iron Discipline can be very helpful. 3 points into Leader of Renown early reduces the recruitment cost of your army by 15%. There's two ways to think about this. The first way is it's not really a combat stat, and it doesn't really provide a lot of benefit on the map, so it's kind of a wasted stat, especially later in the game where you can have a lord who is dedicated to recruiting armies, and then he sort of ferries the army recruits to whoever you want to have the army, and they do the whole army swap thing. And that's one way you can take advantage of this without having your main leader waste a bunch of points in it. The other way to think about it is if you grab this right away, it's going to allow you to recruit larger armies faster with the main hero that you're going to be using through most of the game. And so I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that. Since we do spend a lot of time in our main region at the beginning of the game, though, Iron Disciplinarian is really good. It helps solve a lot of the public order issues until you can get the infrastructure like buildings and other lords in place to cover it, and then you can exit the area and take over a new area and get that one under control very quickly. So I'm a big fan of grabbing a bunch of these points early on to get to Irrepressible, which is just a really good ability to have, and also leads to Lightning Strike pretty quickly. So I think we're going to spend our second point here. And then just to show you, we can see that right now public order is dropping at -5 per turn. This is now 21 turns until there's a rebellion, which is longer than it was before I added that point to Karl Franz. And as we level up, that will go down and eventually revert itself and flip, and we'll be adding order over time. So the more things we can do to add public order and get things under control here, the less likely we'll have to deal with rebellions. Occupy, loot, and raise 4 different settlements. We'll get to that as soon as we can. But what I want to know
Bring me
is,
to my men.
do
I command
I have
here.
any movement left? I don't. So I'm not sure.
No, do not take me for a fool. Is it time?
I'm not sure I can exit. And as long as I'm inside of Grunsberg, the nations do indeed call. We're just playing on normal difficulty. This is very casual and just a chance for me to get refamiliar with the game. I apologize, everybody. One of my frequent viewers has left a comment in the comment section that I just noticed. He says, "Does the nation call?" What difficulty is this campaign-wise? This is the Mortal Empires campaign, and this is normal difficulty all the way around, like I said. Just getting my feet wet again. Kind of gearing up for Total War Warhammer 3, which should be coming out here pretty soon. I haven't heard if there's an official release date yet, but I know it's coming. So that is where we're at. I will try to keep my eyes on the chat window there. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them down. Just a quick question for you while you're still here. How is the quality of the stream? Does the sound and the music and everything sort of make sense where it's at? If not, let me know and I'll see if I can make some adjustments. I'm still learning how to use OBS, but I'm getting better at it, and it's definitely going pretty good. I'm enjoying it. It's really cool software for free. So, okay. Sorry, text message. I will deal with that later. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the diplomacy screen and see if we can make any headway. This gets a little bit redundant. I do this, like I said, quite a bit. Awesome. So it sounds like the quality and the sound is all good on the stream end. The only thing is maybe voices for characters could be brought down a bit. I will look into that. Okay, let's jump into this again and see if we can't negotiate a few more treaties and trade routes.
By Sigmar's will,
so that's
come
not
in
going to happen.
What? Welcome, my countrymen.
Nope. Not here.
The Empire's unity.
We don't want to talk to Slovenia
So,
right now.
By Sigmar's will, come in. Yes? Greetings, my countrymen.
Okay,
You come
non-aggression
in
pact.
peace on this fight.
Sigmar's will.
Making progress there. Not going to be able to get a trade agreement with them right now, but that's okay.
Who calls?
Ostermark.
Approach and make your offer. I refuse. The what?
Osterland.
Greetings on behalf of the Empire.
No, sir.
So, surely an agreement will be reached.
As you say, sir.
Okay. Another one accepts. Don't really care about the dwarves right
Yes?
now. Mainly just want to focus
Surely
on
an
the
agreement
realms
will
of
be reached.
men.
But
Never.
Yes. Surely an agreement will be reached. I will not obey. Sigmar's will.
And Marienburg is
Surely an
definitely-
agreement will
maybe.
be reached. Empire's blessings, yes.
Okay. Crooked Moon and Skull Smashers are both nearby, so we'll have to deal with them at some point. You know, it's funny. I've managed to get a trade with Toddy really early, and the way that you get trading with Toddy is pretty simple. What you do is you immediately get as many of the easy ones as you can. So, for example,
it is good to see fellow sons of the Empire
we got
this
the
day.
non-aggression pact, and then what you do is
The Empire.
you go to
Come
Toddy
then. Only
and you
Sigmar's
offer
god,
him
Ulrich, can
a
judge
payment.
it worthy or no.
And we'll offer him a small gift, and what that will do is that will raise the rate at which he improves his attitude towards us quickly, and then we can within a few turns, usually by like turn 5, you can get him to agree to a trade route, which actually helps pretty significantly money-wise. And then anybody else that you feel like you can get good trade routes with, you should do the same thing. So you invest a small amount of money in a small gift, and then over about 4 or 5 turns, you're able to get that trade route, which makes back that money and then some throughout the rest of the game. So we'll go ahead and do that. I will go ahead and add a payment of a gift, and then I might see if he'll agree, because he's not going to agree to this right now. We can go ahead and try it.
A fool's action.
He won't do it. He might agree to military access if we offer a payment with it. And I can actually offer a smaller payment if I do it this way.
Not likely.
Okay. So we'll just offer a payment. And we'll just do a small one. And he'll accept that for
Fine.
sure. And then, does it show it yet? Maybe after I do this. So starting next turn, we should see something like recently, there it is, gift given to Midland. So we're getting 10, and it'll go down to 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down for several turns. But it will boost the rate at which this increases, which will move him from neutral to a positive attitude towards us. So yeah, it works pretty frequently. And one of the things that I like to do is we pull a bribe or we pull money from Slovenia, we give it to Todbringer, and then we could take away a lot of the threat of Todbringer being such a powerful neighbor to Reichland and so close to it, and actually make him an ally very, very quickly. I found that works really well. Now, it may not work at the higher difficulties as well as it does for the lower difficulties, but this is the way that I've been playing the Empire lately, and it seems to be pretty fun. I think that is going to do it for turn 2. And we'll probably do one more turn, and then I'm going to probably end this stream, and we'll pick it up either later tonight or tomorrow. I should definitely have some time over the next couple of days to get us at least moderately into the beginning of this campaign. Alright, let's go ahead and end our turn. Okay, establish a trade route with Nordland, gain 1,500 gold. This is pretty difficult to do and can actually be problematic because once you become aware of chaos, they tend to want to come down and kill you. Having too much contact with the north can cause that to happen sooner than we're ready for. So we don't want to send or fight our way up there. But there are some other ways that you can make this happen. So we'll look at that over the next couple of turns. Okay, what do we got going on here? These things are random as far as I can tell. They don't seem to happen in any particular order, or they're not the same all the time. They kind of vary. And they pop up from time to time. And they will allow you to increase fealty of one while lowering the fealty of another. I tend to lean towards the balance. So this faction is currently at 7 fealty. This faction is currently at 5. We can do nothing, and that will put them both at 6. And that seems to be the way that I like to do it. Now, if you have a particular faction that you're trying to acquire or confederate, then anytime that they pop up, you may want to go the other route, especially if the penalty is not going to be problematic for you. But I think we're going to go ahead and do nothing in this case and balance them out, because I'm not really sure which one we're going to want to interact with first. And so putting them both at 6 is probably better than putting one at 8 and one at 4. So we'll go with that. Okay, So the beginning of turn 3. Okay, these guys are at war with the secessionists too, so
Ready.
that's good. So there's 2 ways for us to get over to Übersreich. We could cut through this forest and go this route, which is the route that I think the enemy army took when they retreated, or we can go around this way. I don't know that there's much difference in how we get over there. There's less chance of an ambush if we go this way, though. So I think we're going to go to that location. Now we don't have to march the entire way all in one turn, but I don't think there's anything else I want to do. So
Now.
we'll go ahead and march over there, and we should be able to find that army.
Not likely.
So I'm pretty sure this is the army that we smacked around a
So?
few moments ago. We don't need to do anything else this turn, but we could recruit some more since we're still in our territory, and we could do that as local recruitments. And so I think what I want to grab at this point is... I'm debating. So I think I want 3